Alright, legends, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. I am your host, Rodney Stewart. We're getting into Angel in this episode. Flippin' deadly. Love this show. Spoilers before we go ahead. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are you have seen the spin off to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel. If not, and you're just a Buffy fan, I would highly recommend this episode in particular. Probably one of my favourites from the entire run of the series of Angel. And honestly, I have so much time for the Angel series. A little bit more growing up and what Buffy was. And something that I love about that character, excuse me, is there's a big history for this character, and there is multiple episodes where you do get to see some of the past of Angel, and this episode does it in a big bad way. So before we get going, we're going to take a little break right now just to play the intro tune. You know, I'm kind of starting to think, is there really any point in using the intro tune anymore? The you know, people are just like, their concentration is at about 10 seconds these days, and that's been very flippin' generous. That's why I do a little bit of talking now before the intro tune to try and, get people to actually listen to a part of this shit before they go like, oh, there's an intro tune, fuck this, I can't be bored waiting the 10 or 15 seconds, whatever it is, it runs. But I digress. This, why am I saying this, as in this? Idiot. I need to stop recording podcasts whenever I'm overtired, because you never know what's going to come out of my mouth. But yes, this Angel episode, brilliant. Episode 2 of season 2, entitled Are You Now or Have You Ever Been? Now, that is from a television broadcast back in the 30s. I'm not even going to pretend I know where it came from. It's like something to do with one of the presidents back in the day. Been hauled up in front of Congress, and that was a question he was asked: are you now or have you ever been? Whatever the tail end of it was, you do actually get to see that little broadcast in the background of one of the scenes and here, so check that out. But this is skipping between present day and back in 1952. And the prior episode 1 of season 2, when Angel was protecting the pregnant woman, excuse me, they hid in a hotel briefly, and there was a moment there where Angel stopped and looked around the hotel, and he was like, didn't pass any remarks, but you knew that he knowed this place, and this episode delves into that. And by the end of this episode, they actually take the hotel on as their new headquarters, but that's jumping ahead. At the beginning of the episode, Angel asks Wesley and Cordelia to look into the history of the Hyperion Hotel. It was built in the 1920s, but has been abandoned. The two of them are wondering why Angel's interested in some random building, but he doesn't tell them. He just simply tells them to start the research from the beginning up to present day. So we cut over to 1952, the hotel, bustling with people, fully stocked with guests, and the manager of the hotel gets the bellhop. I believe Frank is his name. Roland is the manager. He tells the bellhop to deliver a bill up to room 217. And the bellhop doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to go up there. He says that the guy that's up there, He freaks me out. I don't want to do it. And the guy was like, we kicked out of all the people out of this hotel that give you the heebie-jeebies. We would run out of business. So off the little guy goes up the elevator onto the floor where this room is at, and approaches the room, not wanting to do it. He's a little bit worried, and knocks the door, and tells the occupant that he's got mail for him, which is basically his bill. So knocks the door, doesn't get much of a response, and he doesn't wait too long, so he just kind of says, like, I'll just leave this outside for you, and he runs off to the elevator. Doors open, he suddenly starts pressing the button to leave, and just as the doors of the elevator closes, the door of the hotel room opens, and out steps Angel. So we're getting a bit of history here for Angel in this episode, jumping, as I say, from present day back to 1952. Angel's living in the hotel, keeps himself to himself, doesn't interact with anybody, doesn't even acknowledge people. He just comes and goes, and he's in his guilt phase at this stage. Well, he's always in his guilt phase, but back then he was just like really into it, and he just was cutting himself off from humanity altogether. Everything that's going on in this hotel, let's just say, it's a lot of seedy activities in there. One day, as Angel leaves his room to get some ice, he spots this guy, a salesman, and he's talking to someone, but it's like a one-sided conversation, and whoever he's talking to isn't there. He's talking to fresh air, basically. He then notices a man going door to door as if he's looking for someone. He gets back to his room and he finds a woman inside, and she claims to be a maid. But Angel knows that she isn't. There's no cleaning trolley outside the door. Her sheets are still dirty and she's white. So this is the thing about this episode. They delve into the, let's just say, race in a big bad way in this episode. And it's tastefully done. Back then, it was like, people were still segregated whenever it came to white and black people. But Angel tells her, he knows she's not the maid because they says the sheets are still dirty, you haven't changed anything, there's no cart outside, and you're white. And she confesses to Angel the man that he's seen going door to door is her boyfriend, and he's trying to find her. Angel isn't interested and starts to shove her out of the door, will bring her towards the door to throw her out. But he hears the guy at the door trying to get in, and he tells the man he's got no visitors. He opens the door. The man persists. Angel slams the door in his face and throws him into the elevator. He then returns to the room, ignoring the grateful woman's introduction as Judy, and slams the door in her face. We cut back to present day. Angel stands outside the door of his old hotel room. So, as we're jumping back and forwards in the time periods of this here, as I say, it whatever's happening in the past, if it cuts to the future, it's kind of like the same spot, different time sort of thing. So that's what happens here. 50 years after that event, Angel standing outside the door of his old hotel room. Over with Wesley and Cordelia, they find that the hotel closed in 1979 when Roland took a shotgun and killed every guest. This was the manager. He just went door to door taking people out. Since then, the hotel was declared a historical landmark, and the owners of the building have been trying to unload it for the last 10 years with no luck, no buyers. Wesley and Cordelia also find the hotel has a sordid history and murderous history dating back to the hotel's construction. While building the hotel, one of the roofers jumped to his death, taking one of his co-workers with him. The two of them start to question the reason why Angel is persisting. They investigate the hotel, and eventually they discover a photograph and Angel's in it, dating back to 1952. Now knowing he's got a personal connection to the place, the two wonder why he didn't tell them in the first place. In his room, back in 1952, Angel is sitting doing his whole brooding thing while he's drinking blood. Next door, the salesman that we seen earlier on in the episode talking to Fresh Air is playing a record, and he takes a handgun out and puts a pillow to his head and takes himself out with the gun. Angel hears the gunshots and the man fall, but he barely acknowledges it. Later that day, the manager of the hotel and the little bellhop guy discuss what's happening, mentioning this is the third person to take their life in 3 months, as the manager discusses when to call the police. The bellhop's talking about when to call the police, sorry. The manager starts hearing this voice in his head, whispering that if word gets out about the death, the hotel will be closed down. He then tells the bellhop that no one is going to call the police, and instead to store the body in the hotel's meat locker. When the hotel's occupants start discussing further about the guy that killed himself was actually a murder, another guest hears the same voice whispering in his head that someone killed the salesman. Angel meets Judy outside an observatory later that night. The two of them talk about what happened and could possibly have been a murder, and Judy takes the opportunity to thank him before leaving. Back in the present day, present day, Wesley and Cordelia find information on when the bellhop was arrested, convicted and executed for the murder of the salesman in 1952. They note that he was the bellhop when Angel was there. The story is now becoming bigger and more complex. We cut back to 1952 again. I absolutely adore this episode, by the way. Angel returns to the hotel as the guests get more and more paranoid about the salesman's death. Judy calls Angel into his room and insists that the guy who took his own life was likely a murderer, but Angel isn't convinced. She explains that she's nervous. If the salesman's death is indeed a murder, the police will be around asking questions. Angel then reveals that the man she earlier claimed to be her boyfriend was not her lover, but actually a private investigator, so he's switched on to everything that's going on. Judy confesses that he's probably working for a former employer, which was a bank in Kansas, and she also tells him that although she is white passing, her mother was black and she never knew her father. So there's the whole race thing in here, and it's very, very beautifully done in the scene, I have to say. She stole money from the bank because they fired her because they found out what her secret was. And her secret is that she's been passing for being a white woman when she's actually got a black mother and she didn't know her father. So she's light enough skinned that she can use a little bit of makeup to pass as white, essentially. So, yeah, after finding out her true heritage, the Angel tells her, you know what, Judy, it's just blood. It's just blood. Don't be worried about it. That's just a nice little sentiment in there from Angel. It's just like she's pouring her heart out about what happened to her, losing her job, losing her fiance, everybody turning their back on her because they found out that she wasn't white, and Angel, being a vampire, is just like, you know what? That doesn't matter. It's all blood. And just a simple way of saying we're all the flipping same. So nice little message hiding inside this episode. Absolutely brilliant. So Judy stole a large amount of money from the bank. She insists that she didn't even spend it. And Angel tells her she was fired because their employees were scared. Again, blood is blood, regardless of one's race. Back in the present day, Cordelia finds a newspaper clipping about Judy, which reveals that after stealing the money from the bank, she checked into the Hyperion in 1952 and was never seen again. And she starts to think that Angel may know about the fate of this woman. The photo of him dated to the same year. Back in 1952, Angel helps Judy hide the money in the ceiling of the hotel's basement. She considers the idea of sending it back to the bank instead of going to jail. If I just return it, maybe they'll let me off of it. Judy asks Angel if he believes in forgiveness, but during the conversation, Angel starts to hear whispering and realizes that something is in the hotel, and he tells Judy to get back to her room and stay there. Back in present day, Angel finds the money untouched in the hotel's basement. So the money's been there for 15 years. Nobody's found it. But notices the whispering again, and back at Cordelia's apartment, Wesley realises that a force was affecting the residents and staff. Getting an update while on the phone with Angel, Cordelia informs Wesley that is a Fesselac demon, also known as a paranoia demon. It feeds on victims' inner insecurities and preys on them through whispers. Wesley's kind of stumped here that haven't been the expert and figure this out, but Cordelia figured it out, but she didn't. She's got the phone hidden behind her back. Angel's told her. Angel thinks that the demon claimed the land even before the Hyperion was built, and he wanted Wesley and Cordelia to look into the hotel so that they could track down its current whereabouts. However, Angel's discovered that the Fesselac is still in the hotel, and instead wants to raise it to kill it. Angel asks Wesley to call Gunn to provide extra muscle, and when Wesley asks if Angel wants the Fesselac ritual, the raisin ritual, researched, Angel tells him that it's already been done. So we cut back 1952 again. We're in a bookstore this time, and there's this little guy, Denver, that runs it, sitting watching TV. Angel enters and inquires about raising and killing demons, and realising, I want to get the books on demons and this, that, and the other. And Denver says, try this one. Throws a book at him. Angel catches it. His hands start to burn, and he turns vampire face, and it turns out to be the Bible. So Denver tries to chase the vampire out while carrying a cross, but Angel overpowers him, demanding that he helps him since he knows Denver's reputation for the unusual. And he's like, I haven't opened a vein in a long time, and if you keep this up, I'm going to do it. At the hotel, the little bellhop tells the manager that he was forced to cut the body into pieces in order to fit it into the meat locker. Meanwhile, 4 guests are having an argument, each convinced that the other is responsible for the salesman's murder. Up in her room, Judy hears whispering, telling her she's going to prison. Back at the bookstore, Angel and Denver are making a little bit of small talk. Angel learns that the Fesselac needs to be corporeal before it can be killed. That's something we've seen a lot of times throughout these types of shows. To become corporeal, the demon either needs to find a large amount of paranoia or be raised in a ritual. Although Denver, the little bellhop, warns Denver's not the little bellhop, Denver's the bookstore owner. He warns that the raising is risky, and Angel chooses to attempt the ritual anyway. He pressures Denver into giving him the supplies he needs for free, but he is warned that the Fesselac is incredibly difficult to kill, so Angel picks up a large axe and asks Denver to bag up the items. The little guy doesn't understand why a vampire would want to slay a demon to help some humans, and Angel looks at him and is like, I can't explain it myself. Really doesn't. He just knows he wants to help people. So back at the Hyperion, the guests are now openly accusing each other of murder. with even the manager and the bellhop taking part, despite knowing the truth. The private investigator shows up again that Angel threw out of the hotel at the beginning of the episode, and approaches the people and asks about Judy. He's got a photograph of her. Have you seen this woman? We cut over to Angel arriving back, and he finds the lobby completely empty, dead quiet. In the present, Cordelia, Wesley and Gunn arrive, and the group prepare to start raising the Fesselac, while Wesley and Gunn are bickering really hard, and Angel assumes it's the Fesselac talking to them. It's like, don't listen to it, guys, it's trying to get into your heads. But Cordelia tells them that they're acting like this the whole way over in the car before they got here, so a little bit of bitching and moaning between the two of them, a little bit of comedy moments between Wesley and Gunn. Not that he doesn't like Wesley, he just likes taking the piss out of him. We cut back over to 1952. Angel arrives at the hotel room floor to find the guests trying to drag Judy out, now fully convinced that she's a murderer after discovering that she used a fake name when checking in. Angel tries to help her, but she suddenly breaks free from the guests and accuses him of being the murderer. She calls him a monster, mentioning that he's got blood in his room. After they find the axe that Angel has with him to kill the Fesselac, the guests turn on him. The private investigator knocks Angel down, and Angel's just helplessly looking at Judy as he's getting lynched, essentially. Gets the beating of his life, and they take him to the lobby, and the stairs, up the top of the stairs, they tie a noose around his neck, and the crowd angrily cheers, and he's thrown over the railing until he's seemingly hanging dead right there. At that, the guests, it's almost as if the paranoia leaves at this point, and the guests start to realise what they've done, and they start to slink away off. And as soon as he's alone, Angel opens his eyes, removes himself from the rope, and drops to the floor. The Fesselac demon becomes corporeal as he's just fed on a large amount of paranoia. Like the hotel, everybody in there, all going to town at the same time, trying to get hold of your woman, and then her blaming Angel, and them lynching him, essentially. And the Fesselac jokes that the Angel stuck his neck out for a bunch of humans and asks him where it got him. Then he tells Angel that despite her turning on him, he really had made a friend in Judy. You know, she turned on you, but you made a friend. He had also helped her to restore her faith in humanity. Lust of the Fesselac can now feed on her guilt for a lifetime. And he tells Angel that you've plumped her up nice and good, and now she's a meal that's going to last me a lifetime. And although the Fesselac mentions that the rest of the guests could also use his help, Angel isn't interested and leaves the demon to feed on them, essentially. So because of that moment where Judy threw him under the bus to save herself, and he didn't just restore her faith in humanity, she restored his faith in humanity for a little while, and then they turned on him. So Angel's just like, everybody in the hotel, take them all, and leaves. Back in the present, the ritual is successful, and the Fesselac reappears in the present day and thanks Angel for bringing him some people to feed on, especially Wesley, who according to him is the most paranoid and insecure of the group. Angel tells the demon that he had his last meal a long time ago, but the Fesselac's comments about paranoia aging like a fine wine makes Angel realise that he's still feeding. The gang then engage in battle with the Fesselac, and Angel destroys the demon by sticking one of his tentacles into the fuse box, and that's something that the book owner said earlier on in the episode, something big and heavy to knock him down, but a lightning strike wouldn't go amiss either. So in present day, Angel does take him out by, like, this guy. He looks like a human, bar the demon face and everything, but from head down to his waist, he's human shaped. Doesn't seem to have any arms, but loads of tentacles where his legs should be. Interesting design for the demon. So Angel grabs one of the tentacles, and it just came back to me, a little joke that was popped on there during the fight. Watch out for his tentacles. And Cordelia is like, as what? And tentacles. Tentacles, Cordelia. Listen to what I'm saying. Tentacles, not what you're thinking. So, they kill the Vasilak by striking one of his tentacles into the fuse box. He gets electrocuted and explodes, dead and gone. As Wesley, Wendley, there's a new name for you. Wesley starts to wonder aloud what the Vasilak meant by his comments about, especially that one as to how paranoid Wesley is. Angel leaves, he goes up the stairs and he goes to room 214, opens the door, and he finds a now elderly Judy sitting in a chair. The Vasilak has been feeding on her for the past 50 years while keeping her in the hotel. She's surprised to see Angel, and he assures her that everything is okay, and she repeatedly apologises for killing him as he tries to assure her that she didn't. She's like, I'm so sorry I killed you. And it's a nice little moment between the two of them at the end of the episode. She's been stuck in this room for 50 years. She gets up and she asks Angel, can I leave now? Can I go out? I don't hear him anymore. And Angel's like, yeah, you can. You can go out now. She gets up to leave, but asks to lie down for a little while before going out. I'm just going to take a little rest and then I'm going to go out. As she lies down, Judy asks Angel to forgive her for killing him, which he does, and she promises to go out when she's rested, but instead passes away in Angel's arms. Beautiful, beautiful little moment in the episode. Downstairs, Wesley's still worrying about the Vasilak's comments. Angel enters the room again. Cordelia notes how happy she is to leave the hotel, and Angel announces Angel Investigations is moving on. Everyone is shocked, and Wesley reminds Angel that the hotel played host to not only a demon, but some of the worst examples of humanity. And Angel simply answers, not anymore. So wonderful, wonderful episode. And again, as I said at the start of the episode, go check it out for yourself. And, if you're still here at this point, like I'm pushing half an hour talking shit about this episode, you could have watched the episode on its own. And in all fairness, as much as I want to grow this podcast, I would rather that if you're listening to this podcast, you're coming to it as someone that's actually watched the series, and you're just coming on to hear the thoughts of another fan. So I'm just going to look down here anymore. Anything about reception for the episode? Doesn't seem to be much. No, doesn't seem to be. But again, fantastic episode. I like to look for the reception of some shows. I'm doing an hour podcast, science fiction podcast at the moment on Star Trek, going through the original series, and there's always something online here about the reception that the episode got when it came out. But for me, as I say, this is probably one of my favourite episodes in the entire run of Angel. There's a mess load of good stuff in there, but this one here is definitely one of the ones that sticks out for me. As I say, I love the the episodes where they delve into the history of a character, and you do get it with this here. The character of the Fesselak demon is fantastic. The guy that plays him did a fantastic episode. Tony Amandala played him, and it's he talks with an accent of the time of the 20s in a way. Excuse the noise outside the studio. There's a huge tractor going past. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but very much like there's a way people spoke back then, and he nails it in this episode. Very, very good. Again, couldn't recommend it higher, and even the series on its own, couldn't recommend it higher. It's definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it before. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. Until the next one, stay safe, whatever you're doing, and do me a favour, rate and review the podcast, share it along, try and get this nonsense built up a little bit for me, and I will see you on Friday with a horror movie. I think we're doing Annabelle. I can't recall the order in which the movies and the Conjuring series go, but I do believe it is Annabelle on Friday. So definitely come back to the channel at the weekend, and you'll get some more content. Stay safe, guys. Talk to you then. This has been a production of Coins Age Media. Thank you so much for listening.